Hello my viewers. One of the things that I had to learn as an HVAC technician was how to purchase parts and materials at the parts houses. This is something that is seldom taught in school. When ordering parts and materials, it's very important to have certain information. Well, for starters, it's very important to have the model and serial numbers of the equipment that you're working on. It seems like every single time that I go into a parts house, without the model and serial number, they ask me for it.
I do need the model and serial number, please.
Huh?
Sorry, Dr. Z. I gotta call the manufacturer on that part.
So I show the counter person this picture that I took of the part that I need using my new cell phone.
Nice picture. I still need the model and serial numbers, please.
Oh! So then I have to drive all the way back to the alien air conditioning system and just to write down the model and serial number of the system, and then drive all the way back to the parts house. Many times it is possible to purchase good replacement parts that are made by aftermarket manufacturing companies, and in those times all you really need is the pertinent information like voltage, amps, tonnage, rotation, whatever it might be about that part that you're trying to replace is going to be the most important. Anything you can get about that part is going to be probably going to be pertinent to getting a replacement part. However, there is a growing trend, you might say, where you're going to have the model and serial number and just about any other kind of information you can get off the equipment you're working on, so that you can order it OEM. Okay, that's from the original equipment manufacturer, and that's the only way you can get the part a lot of times. So just be sure to always gather all the information about the system, not only about that part you need, but about the system as well. And more manufacturers today are making it necessary to purchase the OEM products from them. It might be easier and less expensive to purchase an aftermarket part, like for example, say a motor. Always write down the model and serial number of the equipment that you're working on, just in case you have to order the part OEM. There are some things that don't really require a model and serial number every time, and that would be, for example, a solenoid valve like this. Mainly what you're going to want to know is what size your tubing is. In this case it's 7/8, and the voltage on the coil. That's this part right here. Sight glasses, okay, right like this. The main thing you're going to want to know, of course, is the tubing size. It's a good idea to bring in the model and serial number, although it's not always necessary, even in certain expansion valves. Like this one right here has a sticker label on it that tells you what size this power head is, and of course the size of the valve is written on the body. Now this is an Emerson dryer shell. I mean, mainly what you're going to want to know, like some of the other things I've shown you, is the line size, which here is 7/8 again, and here's a Sporlan liquid line filter dryer shell. You see, it looks pretty much like the Emerson, but it's just built by a different company, sort of. Now in many cases the model and serial number on the system is going to be very important, especially in OEM products such as these time delays, like this one and this one. They're both actually different, believe it or not, and they're not really 5-minute time delays. They're more like 1 second or 25-second time delays, things like that. And if you needed a product like this, this controller board right here, then you're definitely going to need a model and serial number. And of course, other information off of this system would be very important as well. These 5-pin relays would be pretty easy to replace. All you'd really mainly need here would be the coil voltage on these relays, and the fact that they are 5-pin is about all you'll really need to know. Contactors and fuses such as these, you can usually get the aftermarket brands. Mainly all you need is the like on a contactor is the coil voltage and how many pole and the amps that it's rated for. Unless of course your contactors are something that is strictly OEM, meaning where you can only purchase the parts from the manufacturer. This phase monitor right here is actually an aftermarket brand made by ICM. It's really my favorite phase monitor actually, because it monitors the back side of the contactor as well as the front side. Meaning if you have contactor failure, it'll tell you on the phase monitor, so when it's time to replace the contactor, you'll know. Now here's an item right here that you're kind of stuck with having to go OEM. It's a 100 amp 3-pole breaker. You'll have to have the model and serial number of the unit. And also, by the way, see there's a little sticker here that says CB2. That would tell you that's a compressor breaker number 2. Or like over here you've got CB1. So believe it or not, but that's extremely important when ordering parts that are OEM required. Reversing valves, usually you don't really need to get OEM. Although with some air conditioners you pretty much are stuck having to purchase the OEM reversing valves in some cases, but in some of the older like R22 systems and that, you can buy aftermarket reversing valves. All you really need to know usually is the size of your tubing going in and the size of the tubing going out. Like if, for example, in this case it's 3/4 inch on the top 3 and the bottom is 5/8. Also, you'll need to know the coil voltage, whether it's 24 volt or 120 volt, 240 volt, whatever the case may be. And take a look at this condensing fan blade right here. This is an OEM part if I ever saw one right here. And more than likely, this condensing fan motor will have to be OEM as well. So here's a condensing fan motor right here we can take a look at. Let's see, let's try to get some specs off of this motor. It's 1/8 horsepower and 208, 230 single phase. The RPM is 830 and the amp draw on this one is 1.20. The other thing you need to look for is the way it's mounted. It mounts with these bolts right here on top. The fan blade on this one is actually a clockwise. It's a 48 frame and a 1/2 inch shaft. Those are pretty much the pertinents that you'll need to know. Of course, if you want to buy the OEM motor, you'll need the model and serial number and everything here.